So anyway, so I'm Salih. I work as a DevOps advocate at AWS, and like many people coming from Germany, we came here before pilots go on to strike. And today, actually, we will talk about something new, something different called KIRO. And we will see how we are rethinking the way that we are developing features. So today's agenda is going into 4 different steps. One of them is like, why did we build KIRO? And what is the story behind it? The other part is we will walk through KIRO, and I will show you how I built my demo with the steps and the features that it has. And more importantly, we will do live coding. So I hope demo guys will forgive me for making some things work. And AI is a word that we hear every day. It's part of our lives now. We can deny it or not, but it is slowly making its way into our lives. A few months back, I had a chance to meet Douglas Crackford, who is the creator of JSON, and he said, I think around like 50s or 60s, when they started to use computer, his manager back then said, no, I will do the physical one because that feels the real programming to me. And of course, now you can see how we have moved forward from physical card programming into where we are. And right now, these last 2 years feels like 20. I know it takes a lot of toll and a lot of effort to keep up with everything, but let's do a recap of what happened in 2023. And bad luck is gone, so that's good. So in 2023, like we all remember for the first time, we have seen the coding assistant slowly going up. We were creating a command and saying that, hey, create a 2+2 function for me, and it was creating that function for us, and we were losing our minds, and we were saying, okay, developers are losing their jobs. And that was not correct, because we're still here, and we will be here, that I really, really believe. But it was insane, right? It was actually saving us a lot of time. It was taking a lot of missing approach, or like taking a lot of wrong approach away from us, and repetitive tasks that we hate to do were moving away, which was kind of cool. In 2024, like services like Cloud, ChatGPT, and so on came into our lives, and now we have seen another waves of developers are dying, and because people were asking ChatGPT to build a simple Hello World app, and it was building it, and it means developers are dying, of course. So that is why, but it was really insane. We were getting all these informations and so on, and it felt like, yeah, the movement and learning curve is changing and moving faster than we thought. And in 2025, all we talk about is agents, right? Agentic something, agent this, agent that. It's insanely moving forward, and it's automated in multiple ways. We have systems that could actually complete tasks in the way that we describe it to them. The agents or agentic development actually promises us 3 different things when we think about it. One of them is autonomy. We're always saying, yeah, let the agent build this thing or that. The idea is to keep the boring work for them, and actually more meaningful ones, we as developers will do it. But it's important to keep that in mind, that these are just tools, so we need to have a proper collaboration with them. And more importantly, we do not want low quality things, because for prototyping, with everything is nice, but as you go to the production, you will see thousands of different devices that you have never heard of in your life, and probably you wouldn't if you didn't work on those projects. So when you do something, it has to have the best version of itself. However, these promises are falling short. Like when you want to scale up, we know that agent AI coding tools, they are doing great tasks in the small aspect. But I was talking to many people during today, and they were saying that, yeah, I need to fine tune this all the time. I need to go back and talk to it again and again and again. It takes a lot of time to actually make it right. Also, we have limited control of the thinking process, if we call it thinking process, let's say, because they know some stuff, there's a cutoff date for it, and even though we try to augment the results of what they are building, there's still limited control. So each step has to be fine-grained, well thought through, and sometimes, not sometimes actually, most of the time, they often say that, hey, I would rather do it myself because it's easier that way. And the code quality is a big problem. Like when you build something, you want to know that it's the best quality, and of course, like there's no leaks, there's no memory leaks or so on and so forth. So it would be the best version of itself. That is why we built KIRO, because we've seen these gaps and we found out, okay, we have some thoughts on how we can build better apps, because we are coming from building multiple products both externally and internally, and we said, hey, why don't we bring this to the developers, including ourselves, so we can all together build something meaningful. KIRO exactly looks like what you have seen on a VS Code, because it's a VS Code fork at the end of the day. So on the left side, you will see your project structure and so on. And this is what I built for you today. It's called Dev Card. I just went to it and I said, I want to build a developer card project. And this developer card project should basically allow me to create a developer portfolio card for me from my GitHub contributions or GitHub languages that I use. This is the only sentence that I use, and you will see the amazing project in a second. And on the left side, we have seen everything about KIRO, project, but the right side is the most important one for us. In KIRO, we have two ways of doing things. One is the vibe, the word that you probably don't like much. And the vibe's point here is just brainstorming together and moving forward as much as you can in the way that it will actually finally give you the confidence that you can go to the actual implementation. And for the, not this one. Let's go. I know you can run the video. I trust you. Perfect. So on the spec mode, though, that's a completely different scenario. For all the scenarios that I have talked about that was shortcoming for AI development, we talked about the spec-driven development. Spec-driven development is a different way of building AI applications. Maybe you have heard of it through KIRO, maybe you have not heard, you have heard of it in other scenarios. But before I explain the spec-driven development, how many of you have heard of KIRO before? Nice, nice, a few hands, a few hands. Good. So KIRO actually brought in this spec-driven development into the AI agentic ID system. So instead of just going and blindly implementing something, it splits it into multiple phases. First, it creates a requirements files for you. Requirements file actually takes the information about your project. Next is about creating a design template and the tasks that you have. We will see it in a second, so no worries about how it works. I will explain. So the vibe coding part is totally independent of what you would be normally doing when you go to, let's say, any other AI thing, because I don't want to give in names like as if they're bad. They're all great products. But the goal here is to give you a chance to think how you are how you can create a fully blown feature at the end. So first of all, let's see how we can get to know the project when we take over, because if we want to create something like a feature, we have to know what's going on. KIRO has many different features, and one of them is called agent steering. Steering allows us to guide the agent behavior and give the correct context to it, so it doesn't have to go and check out the project all the time to find the right files. We actually create a structure around it, and this structure allows us to give context to the large language model, so it will code according to the scaffold of the project that we have, the architecture decision, and everything else that we have. It will create 3 different files. One of them is product. Product is basically the file that explains what product is. There's the tech. It explains the tech stack that you have. For example, if you're using Vite, it will be Vite, it will be React, whatever you have is written. And in the structure part, you will see the project structure and architecture that you have thought of here. When everything is in place, that's good. Now, let's see how we can see this in action. So first of all, what we are going to do is we will remove everything, and we will actually try to check out the rest of the features that we have. First of all, we have the specs. Specs are our way to create the spec-driven architectures. Agent hooks is another feature that allows you to automate some tasks that you have, for example, like writing tests, translations, or simply creating documentation per your changes. And MCP servers is part of our lives. It's really crazy. 1 year ago, everyone was talking about RAG, and how to use vector database and so on. And now we are in the phase of MCP servers. And when I say RAG, they're acting like I'm talking about cards to program things. It doesn't make sense. So right now, everything that we want to build is actually provided to us. So let's see first the project state, then we will see how actually everything will look like. As I said, it's the most beautiful project that you will see. but let's take the idea of it. So I give my GitHub username here, and it will generate some like cards for me in different modes, right? Like there is the gradient, ocean blue, and so on. And first thing that you probably realize is in different modes, it looks very not readable and quite ugly. So first I want to fix this. For simple fixes and for simple stuff, what I will do is I will go ahead and copy and paste that ugly UI, go to the vibe mode because I don't want to have a structured way of thinking. It's a simple fix. Imagine that when you have a ticket from any thing, that I will use the buzzword and call it Jira ticket, but you can think of anything. And with an issue, when you go and say that like, hey, there's a fix, you don't go ahead and have like accept this criteria and so on. You actually just say, hey, here's how to weigh and what is the expected behavior. And this is what I do. I copy it and paste it, and I say like, I can't read this. This doesn't look like what I would expect it to be. So what it does is it goes through the theming. It already knows the project structure, so it doesn't try to find the right file. It actually finds it, works it, and while working around it, it actually creates the changes. And once it's done, I can just go back and check it out briefly. You don't have to wait for this. So if I go back now, like I have a readable version of what I have, and so it is good. But of course, I'm not here to tell you how you can do simple things. Let's talk about more complicated scenarios. The dev card had two features that I didn't tell you. I wanted to add AI capabilities to create background photos, background images, and I wanted to generate meaningful or maybe something nice about how you can express the developer to the others. So first thing that I do is I go actually and select the spec mode. And after I select the spec mode, the next thing that I do is to define, okay, I want to generate images by using Nova Canvas MCP, and like I define some types. And I say like, okay, have a VD and professional type to create a tagline about myself. And one thing that I want to show you here is like, it's also self-fixing as well. So if it cannot find something, it will fix it. If it cannot see something that it's not, it should be there, it will actually allow us to either interject or make the fix itself. So first thing that it does is it creates the requirements for me. The requirements are according to the project, what we can do as a user story. So we can say, as a user, I want to have this, and here are the accepted stuff. And next thing is you can see that it connects to the MCP servers automatically and gets related information. I mentioned the service called Nova Canvas to build an image. So it will actually go to the Nova Canvas MCP by itself without me even telling that. And after that, it says, okay, do I have the libraries that I need and everything? When I have it, good. If I don't have it, let me add it to the design and also to the tasks as well. And after it has the design, as you see, in each step, it asks me if it makes sense to me. Because one more time, this is a tool. This is not your this is not your assistant, or it is not Jarvis. It's not the Iron Man character that you think of. It's completely different than what you have. So once you have everything, it will actually create the task list for you. Tasks can have multiple states. It can be like started when it's not done. You can stop it in the middle and say, hey, like we can continue later, or abort it, or simply you can complete it as well. And once you click it, it will go through the things. It will go through the stream files again to be sure what's going on, and it will implement everything that it needs to be implemented one by one. Once it does this, it will finish it up, and afterwards it will say, okay, I have finished every task that I have available. And once I have finished every available task, now you can actually test it, because you can see that like 40 files change. And of course, even though I trust AI right now, but not that much. One thing to mention here is the task completion processes are different than you can think of. For a task to be successful, it will always write tests. It will always also check a build, like compile time, if there are compile time errors or not as well. So you can see that like with the Cyberpunk, it creates something different. And like you can also create a nice tagline for your profile as well, which is kind of cool, but we will do better in a second together, hopefully. But now we have everything in place, and you can see that it's actually, you can still download it or share it on LinkedIn. So let's try to add two things. One is we will add new capabilities to it, and I will take you through the project. The second thing is we will add environment variables, because I did that, I was being a bit lazy. So Can everybody see this on the back? Do you want me to do light mode or dark mode is good? Dark is good, you said, right? It would be fine if you said light and I'm constantly saying no, dark is better. No. So this is a project that I have been showing you all the time. Like you can see all the tasks that I have done is here, like under their own chat, so we can go through that again. But most important part is every change that we have done and every step that I have mentioned is actually defined here, like what we are doing as a product. Like, for example, I get the information from GitHub. It even says, mindful of the GitHub limit, because if I don't use the API key, there's a 60 request per hour limit. And these kind of things are like kind of cool. But let's go back and first see the vibe. And one thing that I will ask from the vibe is, can you add 2 new ways of generating background images and 3 new ways of generating AI taglines? So I will enable autopilot because YOLO, if it goes wrong, we can see it together. So first thing that it does is exactly like you've seen. It actually takes the streaming files and says, okay, I have the context now. Now I know which files to read. So it actually only reads the files that it needs to read. So it's not going to a random file and trying to read that one. It's actually going to the places that it should be. So it starts the implementation phase. I didn't say anything about it. In the previous one, I said like create this and that, but I'm hoping it will create something better than we can think of. It accepts the changes because it depends on what you want. If it's autopilot, it will just automatically accept everything, except, this is 2 hard words for me, except the fact that running some commands and so on, because you need to trust to do these things. You can see that sometimes editing it might make mistakes, but it will still go back and do those changes again. And for each change, you can see the difference as well. Some of you might be wondering which models are you using? We're using Cloud Sonnet 4. I'm using Cloud Sonnet 4.5 right now, which is the latest one announced recently. But you can use 4. You can use Auto to be able to get let the decision made by us as well. So it is checking the exact format and the skeleton and so on. So everything is going forward as I hoped it to be. And once it is done, it is actually going to give me a list of changes that it does. And if I didn't do the autopilot, it was actually going to go back and say, hey, I did these changes, test this out. If you don't like it, just delete them out. So it's just checking everything. The diagnostics part is doing the changes and being sure that it's not creating anything. It is also being nice. One thing that I still can't get used to by AIs is creating a summary doc, but it's doing it. I'm like, okay. So I can go back to my project actually in the meantime. And why did I refresh? I don't know. Anyway, so I can say, let's create a card. And now we have a cosmic and nature part. Can everyone see it? All right, so if I click on cosmic, it's generating the image for a second now, and you can see that it created something like a nebula or something. But right now, it is still using my bio from my GitHub. So let me go back and say, do something inspirational for me. And it will generate a tagline for me. And it says, empowering developers, fueling innovation. And it's my quote for sure. No one else said that before. Or you can keep it technical as well. It's totally up to you. Java Virtuoso, sure. JavaScript Maestro, of course. And it calls me Muhammad, and no one calls me Muhammad besides my grandfather. So, and anyway, so it actually created some stuff. It still looks nice, and I can still download it and everything. So I know it's not broken. What's going on? It's broken. You know what? Let's go back and say that. Yeah, this is the beautiful thing about live demos, right? It says yeah, I did these changes, and I will say, yeah, but download is broken now. Why? Let me put a crying emoji as well. And it will explain me why is it broken. It will use the amazing word from AI and say, I see the problem. And if you see the problem, why didn't you fix it? But that's another thing. Anyway, so it's actually reading the files and trying to find what we supposed to do. And like it says, like export code looks fine, so it will see maybe it's about like it would be fine if it says like it works on my machine. And so I see the issue. The card uses cross-origin elements on their outer image, which is good, but when there's an AI background, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Anyway, so it's actually like going to fix this thing. But in the meantime, one thing that I want to mention is like, it's like, this is not the only way to go, of course. Like this, you would say this is just a simple way of doing vibe coding, right? The next thing that we will do is to create a spec around, create a migration scenario to use variables, please. And you can use also context as well. We have many contexts that you can use through the documentation and so on, but you can also get the URL as well. Like, for example, like one thing that I will do is like vite and mode. Yeah, let's copy this, go back and paste this as the context. And it will actually, once this, okay, this is done, so we will try this now. It will actually create some task for me to, like understand, hey, these are the string files that I have, and this is a task that I want to build. So it will create the requirements file and basically everything that is needed. So in the meantime, it does that. Let's see if it kept the promise and if it's working. It's not working. Let me refresh it. Refresh shouldn't work, but you never know. All right, maybe it's the cosmic. Let's use the nature and the casual one, of course. So we have the nature and casual, and let's do download as PNG, not PSG. Okay, this is a different thing. Well, live demos, sorry, yeah. And let me go back and see. So as you see here, like it has created requirements for me for the environment variables migration thing. It did an introduction, it created requirements and acceptance criteria, like when the application starts and so on and so forth, to keep everything in order. And I can accept it or not, it's up to me. Next, it goes to the design and the task creation phase. I'm short on time, so that's why I will let this do its trick until the end, then I will come back to it so you can see the task as well. So, how you can get to know more about KIRO, what you can do if it's interesting for you. But right now, I would suggest like 3 different ways of doing it besides the official website. We have bi-weekly live streams over KIRO's YouTube channel, so you can check that out. We have a Twitch channel as well in case it's more of your thing. And KIRO has a Discord channel with like thousands of users sharing their stories, what they build, also the problems as well. One thing that I can say is we are listening. We have been pivoting a lot of things according to your feedback. KIRO is still in the open preview, so you have a lot of saying in this. In case you want to try, please go to this link. You can join the waitlist. In case you want to try immediately, you can come to the booth, find us, and you can get an access code from me or my colleagues waiting over there. And before I wrap things up, I want to show you one thing on the right side. The website that I shown you on the presentation and what I have was completely different because I asked it to do a complete facelift of the project, and everything that it did, everything that it has created and so on, it has happened probably like me thinking about it took longer than than this. Why am I writing so slow? Anyway, so you can see that like it actually like created many tasks, and it goes through the tasks to create whatever we need. And at the end, whatever you think of that is worthy of a big task, you can go back and tell KIRO and it will split it. And you don't have to let it do it as well. I'm just showing you as the sake of it. It creates this task and subtasks. You can create them manually. And once you know it's done, you can even check it off manually yourself as well. And before last thing that I say, there's a survey that I have created just for me to get better at how I can deliver this message to you. If you have time and if you want to give feedback, this is a survey only for me, it's anonymous. And I want to thank you in the last 5 seconds for being here very late and listening to me. And if you have any more questions, we will be in the sponsors area. Thank you very much, everyone.